Has someone you love started to change in quiet, almost imperceptible ways? Maybe they seem more tired than usual. Maybe they've lost weight or their appetite has faded. Maybe you've noticed them withdrawing into silence more often. You tell yourself it's probably just aging, and yet something in your heart whispers that it might be more, that something deeper is happening. What if that whisper is right? You see, death doesn't always come suddenly. In fact, for many elderly people, the body begins preparing long before the final days. It sends subtle, almost poetic messages. But these signs are often missed, not because we don't care, but because we're not taught to notice them. By the time we connect the dots, it's often too late to make changes, to prepare, to be truly present. This guide is for the sons, daughters, spouses, and caregivers who want to understand what the body is trying to say. Months, sometimes even a year before the end. Because knowing these signs isn't about fear, it's about love. It's about making sure the last chapter isn't rushed, confused, or filled with regrets, but rather full of peace, comfort, and quiet dignity. What if the greatest gift you could give in your loved one's final year was understanding what no one else dares to say aloud? If this resonates with you, take a moment to like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who might be walking the same path. Your support helps us keep creating gentle, informative content for those who care deeply. Let's begin with the first sign, one that appears slowly and can seem harmless until it isn't: significant weight loss. At first, it may just look like a looser belt, a shirt that hangs differently. Maybe they skip a few meals, or their once hearty appetite shrinks to a few bites. You think, well, they're just eating lighter these days. But behind that change, something deeper may be unfolding. Unintentional weight loss is one of the earliest and most reliable indicators that an elderly person may be entering their final year. And it's not just about eating less. It's about how the body stops absorbing nutrients, how it processes food less efficiently, how it begins to release its hold on muscle mass. What was once strong starts to diminish, quietly, gradually. As muscles waste, the immune system weakens, strength fades, the risk of falling increases, wounds heal slower, infections linger longer. And all the while, the person may insist they're fine, that they're just not very hungry. But what if it's not just a change in preference? What if it's the body preparing to conserve energy, no longer urging hunger because it senses there won't be as much time left to need it? There are many reasons for this weight loss. Some are physical, chronic conditions like cancer, heart failure, or kidney disease that often accelerate in the background. Some are emotional, depression, grief, or loneliness that quietly suppress appetite. Others are simply biological. Taste fades, chewing becomes harder, digestion slows. Families often respond by trying to fix it. Favorite meals, protein shakes, calorie-rich snacks. But if weight continues to drop despite best efforts, it may be time to shift the goal from adding pounds to adding peace. In these moments, gentle nourishment, comfort foods, small portions, and hydration matter more than strict nutrition. This isn't about giving up, it's about tuning in, listening not just to what your loved one says, but to what their body is telling you. In the next section, we'll explore the second quiet warning, a kind of fatigue that no nap can fix. It's more than tiredness, it's the body conserving energy for what lies ahead. You've noticed their belt doesn't fit the way it used to. Their shoulders seem smaller beneath their shirt. Maybe it started subtly, skipping breakfast here and there, saying "I'm not hungry" more often, or leaving half a plate untouched. At first, it felt manageable, maybe even expected. After all, older adults don't eat like they used to, right? But then comes the deeper shift. You realize it's not just smaller portions, it's a fading appetite. Not just changing tastes, but food that brings no joy. You offer their favorites, meals that used to make them light up, but now they just pick at them, or wave them away entirely. This isn't just about what's on the plate, it's about what the body is quietly letting go of. In the final year of life, significant weight loss is rarely about eating less. It's a whole body message, one that says, "I'm slowing down, I no longer need the same fuel." It's a complex, layered process that combines physical decline, metabolic shift, emotional change, and a deep biological intuition. The body, remarkably wise in its final chapter, begins to conserve rather than consume. One of the biggest misconceptions families face is the belief that food equals health equals life. So when weight drops, the instinct is to fight back. More calories, more snacks, more supplements. And while this effort comes from love, it often clashes with a reality the body already knows. The truth is, in the final stages, the body becomes less able to process food, especially protein. Muscle wasting, or cachexia, sets in. Even high-calorie shakes can feel heavy. Digestion slows, nausea appears, swallowing becomes difficult. The very act of eating becomes exhausting. And then there's the emotional side. For many elders, food is deeply tied to connection. When they start eating less, it often mirrors a detachment from the world, the table, the conversation, the routine. It can also reflect a sense of surrender, not giving up, but easing out, choosing comfort over effort, stillness over stimulation. So what can you do? First, release the pressure. Don't beg, plead, or coax with guilt. That only adds stress. Instead, offer small portions of familiar foods, soft textures, and favorite flavors. Think sips over servings. Finger foods instead of full plates. Warm broths, gentle teas, a spoonful of something sweet. Let eating be peaceful, not a performance. Second, honor the ritual, not just the meal. Sitting together, even with no appetite, matters. It keeps connection alive. It says, I'm here with you, even if no words are spoken. Third, shift your focus. Instead of counting calories, count smiles. Choose moments of comfort over measurements of intake. Understand that nourishing the soul can be just as important as nourishing the body. And most importantly, don't see this change as defeat. See it as part of the transition, a step toward something slower, quieter, more inward. When the body speaks in whispers, we honor it by listening, without judgment, without fixing, just being. In the next section, we'll explore another quiet shift, the kind of exhaustion that sleep can't repair. When even small efforts drain all reserves and the body starts to say, I need to rest, deeply. Let's talk about fatigue, the second subtle sign of the body preparing to let go. They say rest is the cure for exhaustion. But what if it isn't? What if sleep no longer restores and naps only offer temporary relief? What if getting out of bed feels like climbing a mountain and walking across the room feels like crossing a desert? In the final year of life, fatigue becomes a language all its own. It's not the kind of tiredness that fades after a good night's sleep. It's not about laziness or low motivation. It's a deep, persistent depletion of energy that no amount of encouragement can reverse. And if we listen closely, it's the body saying, I'm slowing down because I must. This is the second subtle sign many people miss, because fatigue on the surface seems normal. After all, older adults nap more, rest more, and move more slowly. But there's a difference between slowing down with age and slowing down for departure. In the months leading up to death, the body begins conserving energy. Heart function decreases, circulation weakens, muscles receive less oxygen. The metabolism, once a fire, becomes a flicker. Suddenly, the most basic actions, brushing teeth, changing clothes, even speaking, require effort. And not just physical effort, but emotional endurance too. When a walk to the kitchen feels like a marathon, it's not weakness, it's the body preparing for rest on a deeper level. Fatigue at this stage is more than just sleepiness, it's a full-body message. It may show up as prolonged napping, dozing off mid-conversation, or needing frequent pauses between short activities. It can also express itself emotionally, a reluctance to engage, irritability, or indifference to previously loved hobbies. This isn't giving up, it's a biological return inward, a closing of the energy gates. For caregivers and loved ones, this shift can be hard to accept. You might want to motivate them, cheer them on, say, come on, just try. But often, this adds pressure to an already fragile system. The reality is, their body is choosing where to spend its final sparks of energy, and it's not in the doing, it's in the being. So how can you support someone in this state? First, honor the fatigue. Don't push or guilt them into activity. Offer choices, not obligations. Let them set the pace, even if that pace is stillness. If they say, I'm too tired, believe them. Second, shift expectations. Instead of what did we do today, try how did we feel today. Instead of outings and plans, try shared silence, soft music, or simply sitting together with hands intertwined. Third, protect their energy. Reduce stimulation. Keep the environment calm. Avoid loud sounds, bright lights, or unnecessary conversations. Create a space that welcomes stillness. And finally, understand that fatigue isn't failure. It's not something to be cured, it's something to be accompanied. When we stop fighting their tiredness and start accepting it, we create room for peace. We stop asking them to return to who they were and start loving them for who they are, right here, right now. In the next section, we'll explore a shift even harder to witness, when the mind begins to fade and conversations become sparse. When forgetfulness turns into confusion and presence turns into withdrawal. Let's talk about cognitive changes and how to meet your loved one gently in their new reality. At first, it's just little things. They forget what day it is, ask the same question twice, lose their train of thought mid-sentence. You chalk it up to normal aging. We all get forgetful sometimes, you tell yourself. But then it begins to deepen. They don't finish their stories. They stop joining in conversations. They sit in silence longer and longer. Their eyes drift away while you speak, as if they're looking not at you, but through you. This is the third sign, and often the most heartbreaking: cognitive confusion and emotional withdrawal. In the final year of life, the mind, like the body, begins to slow. But this isn't dementia in the classic sense. It's not always a diagnosis. It's a subtle, progressive disengagement, a soft closing of the curtain between them and the world they've known. As circulation weakens, the brain receives less oxygen. As organ systems decline, mental clarity fades. There may be moments of lucidity, bright, clear, startling in their sharpness, followed by sudden confusion. It's as if their thoughts are flickering like candlelight, bright, then dim, then gone. When your loved one seems to fade mid-sentence or retreat mid-conversation, it's not that they've stopped caring, it's that their mind is beginning to rest too. You may hear them speak less, or notice that they struggle to find words. They may repeat stories, forget names, or become easily frustrated when they can't express what they mean. This confusion isn't just memory, it's emotional too. A sense of detachment, a pulling inward. One of the clearest signs is when they begin withdrawing from social interaction. Not out of sadness or rejection, but simply because interaction becomes too much. Noise feels overwhelming. Decisions feel like burdens. Even eye contact can feel exhausting. So they retreat, not to shut you out, but to protect what little energy and clarity they have left. Some may grow irritable, others unusually quiet. Some will drift into a serene detachment, responding gently but vaguely. Each person is different, but all are, in some way, shifting away from the external and turning toward the internal. What can you do in this space of quiet retreat? First, let go of the need to pull them back. This isn't something you can fix. It's not a phase to push through. It's a threshold they are gradually approaching. Instead of dragging them toward the light of your world, meet them gently in the shadows of theirs. Second, simplify everything. Use fewer words. Ask fewer questions. Allow silence to be its own kind of comfort. Speak softly. Offer simple reassurances. I'm here. It's okay. You're safe. Third, be fully present, even if they aren't. Sit beside them, hold their hand, play familiar music, bring in calming scents or soft textures. Make the environment peaceful, predictable, and slow. And finally, listen without needing replies. Some of the most profound moments in this phase aren't spoken. They're felt. A shared gaze, a tear, a squeeze of the hand. When language begins to fade, connection transforms into something deeper. In the next section, we'll explore another sign that the body is stepping back from the fight. An immune system that no longer bounces back, and infections that linger far longer than they used to. Let's talk about what it means when healing slows and what it really says about what lies ahead. It begins with something small, a lingering cough, a tiny scratch that doesn't heal, a mild fever that fades, then returns. You don't think much of it at first. After all, who hasn't dealt with a seasonal bug or a stubborn cut? But then you notice it keeps happening. One cold rolls into another. A bladder infection reappears weeks later. Bruises take longer to fade. A sore seems to open up again just as it starts to close. And suddenly, you realize the body isn't recovering the way it used to. This is the fourth subtle but powerful sign: frequent infections and slow healing. In the final year of life, the immune system begins to weaken. It's not a single illness that causes concern, it's the pattern, the repetition, the slow response to treatments that used to work, the shift from resilience to fragility. As circulation declines and energy reserves dwindle, the body can no longer mount strong defenses. White blood cell production slows, the skin thins. Internal systems prioritize essential functions, breathing, heart rate, over recovery. The result is a body that is still alive, but no longer fighting with the same intensity. When recovery becomes rare and illness becomes routine, the body isn't just sick, it's signaling surrender. Common infections in this phase include urinary tract infections, UTIs, pneumonia, bronchitis, skin infections, and oral infections. These aren't just inconvenient, they're exhausting. A mild fever may last days. Antibiotics may take longer to work or stop working altogether. What once was a quick recovery now lingers, drains, and returns. Even more telling is how infections appear. An elderly person might not develop a high fever. Instead, they may seem unusually tired, more confused, less hungry. A sudden dip in alertness, a refusal to get out of bed, these can be early signs that the body is under microbial attack, even before classic symptoms show up. Wound healing also changes. A scratch from a garden tool, a bruise from bumping into the table, a small sore from pressure. In younger bodies, these would heal quickly, but now they stay. They reopen. They become hot, red, or tender. These wounds reflect what's happening deeper inside, a system that is slowly shutting down its ability to repair. So what can you do when healing slows? First, shift the goal. It's no longer about curing every ailment. It's about increasing comfort, reducing risk, and protecting dignity. When a body begins to slow its immune response, pushing it into aggressive treatments can often cause more harm than help. Second, simplify hygiene and support routines. Keep the skin clean and moisturized. Offer plenty of fluids. Ensure bedding is clean and soft. Use gentle repositioning to avoid bed sores. Avoid over-medicalizing every symptom. Sometimes the best medicine is presence, not pills. Third, stay alert to subtle signs. A loved one who seems suddenly disoriented, who eats less, or who becomes unusually quiet may be experiencing an infection without classic symptoms. In these moments, what they need most is attention, calm observation, and gentle care. Above all, resist the urge to go into battle mode. It's natural to want to fix, to heal, to fight. But sometimes, the more powerful act is to accompany, to sit beside someone, not in opposition to illness, but in acceptance of what's unfolding, to offer love, not solutions, and to recognize that slowing down isn't failure. It's nature's way of writing the closing chapters with grace. In the next section, we'll explore one of the most unmistakable signs that the body is nearing its final transition. The breath changes, circulation slows, and the extremities grow cold. Let's talk about what it means when the rhythm of life begins to shift and how we can respond with presence instead of panic. The room is quiet, but something feels different. You listen closely and realize their breathing has changed. Slower, shallower, pausing in strange rhythms. You reach for their hand. It's cooler than usual. Their feet feel cold too. You adjust the blankets, but the chill lingers. This is the fifth and often final sign: major changes in breathing and circulation. In the last months or even weeks of life, the body begins to redirect energy. The heart, once steady and strong, now works just to maintain the essentials. Blood no longer flows fully to the fingers, toes, or outer skin. Instead, it concentrates around the vital organs. It's the body's quiet way of pulling inward, of conserving, of preparing. Breathing patterns reflect this shift. You might notice irregular rhythms, breaths that come quickly, then slow. Periods of apnea, where the breath stops for several seconds, then resumes. This is especially common at night or when resting. In some cases, a distinct pattern called Cheyne-Stokes breathing appears, deep breaths followed by long pauses. It can be startling, but it's not painful. It's simply the nervous system releasing its grip. When breath becomes irregular and hands turn cold, the body isn't breaking, it's gently closing down the systems it no longer needs. You may also observe signs like blue or mottled skin, especially around the fingers, toes, and lips. This happens because the heart is prioritizing circulation to the brain and core. These visible signs are not emergencies, they're quiet transitions. The body is stepping away from survival mode and moving towards stillness. For families, this stage can trigger fear. The instinct is to act, call for help, increase oxygen, adjust medication. But often, these changes aren't something to fix, they're something to accompany. These signs are not necessarily about discomfort, but about conservation. Slowness is not always suffering. Sometimes, it is surrender. That said, There are ways to increase comfort during this phase. Elevate the head slightly to ease breathing. Use a cool mist humidifier to moisten the air. Offer ice chips or sips of water if they're still able to swallow. Keep the room calm and dim. Hold their hand. Speak softly. Let your presence be the medicine. Some people will sleep more. Others will appear distant, even while awake. There may be long silences, moments of confusion, or soft, shallow murmurs. These are not signs of detachment, but of transition. The body is no longer in conversation with the world. It's turning inward, one breath at a time. This stage is sacred. It's where the veil between presence and parting becomes thin, where every small comfort matters, where you can say everything you've wanted to say, not in urgency, but in peace. A simple, "I'm here," a whisper of love, a hand gently held until the end. In the next and final sections, we'll talk about how to walk with someone through this final chapter, not as a fixer, but as a companion. We'll explore how to offer love, comfort, and dignity as the end draws near, and how to begin healing before the goodbye. You've seen the signs, you've felt the shift, the slowing down, the fading appetite, the quiet withdrawal, the breath that pauses, the hand that no longer grips as tightly. It hurts, there's no denying that. Watching someone you love move through their final chapter is a sorrow that reshapes you, but alongside the pain, something else becomes possible: presence. If you understand what's happening, not as a crisis, but as a transition, you can meet this moment with grace instead of fear. This section is about how to love while letting go, about what it means to accompany someone, not to pull them back to life, but to walk beside them as they approach the threshold. When fixing is no longer the goal, loving becomes the most powerful act left. The first step is acceptance, not resignation, not giving up, but a deep, compassionate acknowledgement of what is. This allows you to move from anxiety to attentiveness. Instead of bracing for what might happen, you begin to notice what is happening and meet it with tenderness. Accepting doesn't mean becoming distant or passive. On the contrary, it frees you to be fully present. To ask, what brings them comfort? What makes them feel safe? What memories matter most right now? How can I help them feel heard, even if they don't speak much anymore? Next, shift your caregiving from doing to being. In earlier stages of illness, you might have focused on medications, meals, schedules. Now, presence is more important than productivity. A hand held, a shared silence, a whispered, "I love you." These small gestures carry tremendous weight. They say, "You are not alone." Create an environment that soothes the senses. Keep lighting soft. Use warm blankets. Play gentle music they once loved. Bring familiar smells, lavender, favorite meals, a favorite soap. These sensory anchors can ground someone when their inner world feels blurry. Ask what matters most if they're able to answer. Some may want to hear old stories. Some may want to pray. Some may just want to lie in stillness. Honor whatever comes, and if they can't speak, don't assume they aren't aware. Many people in their final days can still feel emotion, still sense love, even if they can't express it. Support doesn't stop with the one who's dying. It includes you too. Allow yourself to grieve even before the goodbye. Let the tears come. Share your fears. Ask for help. Speak with others who have walked this path. You don't have to carry it all alone. And most of all, speak from your heart. Tell them what they've meant to you. Say thank you. Say sorry. Say I forgive you. Say I love you. These are the words that echo long after the last breath. They are the gifts we give and the peace we keep. In our final part, we'll bring everything together, the signs, the meanings, and the path forward. Not just for them, but for you. Because even as their life draws to a close, yours continues. And how you walk this chapter with them will shape how you carry them in your heart forever. This journey hasn't been easy. If you've read this far, you've walked through some of the hardest truths we face in life, that we all must say goodbye, and that love often asks us to stay even when we can't stop what's coming. But if there's one thing to take away, it's this. The final year of life isn't just about dying. It's about deepening connection, preserving dignity, and creating moments that will echo far beyond the goodbye. Let's take a breath and revisit what we've learned. First, we explored significant weight loss, not just as a physical change, but as a sign that the body is absorbing less, needing less, and beginning to pull inward. Then we examined extreme fatigue and weakness, a shift from activity to stillness, where even simple actions become monumental. We looked at cognitive confusion and emotional withdrawal, a heartbreaking but natural turning away from the outer world, where communication shifts from words to presence. We witnessed frequent infections and slow healing, the immune system's quiet surrender, as the body stops fighting and starts conserving. And we listened to changes in breathing and circulation, the most visible signs of transition, the slowed breath, the cooled hands, the quiet that settles in the room. Each of these signs is a message, not of failure, but of the body doing what it's meant to do: prepare, protect, and close gently. What if death isn't the end, but the last chapter in a book written with love and now ready to rest? So what now? What do you do with this understanding? You carry it, you share it, you live it. You sit beside your loved one, not with fear, but with presence. You allow silence to speak and love to be felt beyond words. You let go of fixing and hold on to witnessing. You stop counting time in days or hours and start counting in smiles, in touches, in breaths shared. And when the moment comes, whether sudden or slow, you remember that you were there, that you noticed, that you showed up, that your love was part of their final comfort, that you said the things that matter. And afterward, when the house is quiet and the chair sits empty, you'll carry more than grief. You'll carry grace. You'll carry memories not clouded by regret, but warmed by meaning. Because death isn't just an ending, it's also an invitation to live more intentionally, to cherish more deeply, to love more patiently, and to remember that our presence, especially in the final moments, is the greatest gift we can offer. Thank you for walking this path with me. If this series helped you, please share it with someone else who needs it. You are not alone in your grief. You are not alone in your love, and neither are they.